Welcome to Are You Quizzing Me? I am Vineet Nair with my co-host Aditya Kashyap. This is a quizzing trivia podcast show. Join us as we dive deep into history, science, pop culture, and so much more. Let's get quizzing. Welcome to episode number 76 of Are You Quizzing Me? Your favorite quizzing and trivia podcast show. Returning to our podcast today is guest quizmaster Garry Levy, joining us all the way from New York, New York. An accomplished and prolific quizmaster, Garry runs a quizzing company called Let's Go Trivia since 2016. His company hosts more than 1,000 pub quizzes per year, apart from corporate events for such giants such as MasterCard and Fordham University. We had a blast recording with Garry for the special 4th of July episode last week. So it is my distinct pleasure to welcome Garry back to our humble little podcast for the second episode running. Welcome back, Garry, and I really hope last week's episode wasn't too painful for you.
Well, I'm back, so I guess it wasn't. Thank you for having me again. I hope I live up to the expectations.
Oh, you did more last time, more than live up to expectations last time. It was a really fun little episode last week.
Great. Well, let's do it again.
Okay. So, let's start off this week's episode with our usual audience question. Since 1851, nearly 300 hurricanes have made their way to US soil. Of these, 120 have hit Florida's coast. Southeast Florida is also where Hurricane Andrew hit in 1992. It was a Category 5 hurricane, which is the most powerful type of hurricane. After Andrew hit in 1992, the state of Florida mandated new building codes to reduce the impact of hurricanes. A very bizarre thing seen in South Florida houses is due to this code. This thing also offers an extra layer of protection. It allows large groups of people to exit quickly during an emergency. When installing, it's important to add safety mechanisms. What special feature of houses in Florida am I talking about? I will answer this question at the end of today's episode, so in the meantime, you can try and guess what it is and stay tuned for the answer at the end of the episode. Let's start off with our regular round of quizzing with our guest quizmaster, Mr. Garry Levy. Garry, start us off, please.
Okay. So, I've come up with a handful of questions. I don't know if they'll stump you. You guys are pretty trivia savvy, I have to say. So, I didn't want to go too difficult either. I didn't want to make them really ridiculously hard. So I've followed your styling from the last day and I've come up with a couple that I hope may stump you, but I think you'll probably get. So here we go. The first one. The founder of this company, and the company is famously named after him, started manufacturing tractors in the late 1940s. He then opened an oil-burning factory in 1959, and he later entered into the business of producing air conditioning equipment. In the 1960s, he sold off most of his business interest and retired and pursued winemaking. But then, he had a fascination with bullfighting, and when he finally began producing what he is now best known for, he used a bull as the logo for his now famous products. Who is he, or what is he best known for? And Vineet, you got a big smile on your face. I'm thinking you know the answer.
You had me at tractor.
Okay.
I'll leave it to Aditya. I think he too knows this.
I'm assuming it is... Because you said bullfighting, I was tempted to say Lamborghini, but I'm not too sure.
Vineet?
I was going with Lamborghini also because he initially produced tractors and then his famous spat with Ferrari. So he wanted to make the best sports car in the world and he came out with the Lamborghini. So I would also go with the Lamborghini.
That is correct. Yes, he didn't intentionally set out to make cars. He was upset with Ferrari with their post-sale service, and apparently the clutches on the Ferraris were time-consuming to fix, and they were done in a shroud of secrecy. So when he would drop his Ferrari off to be fixed, he wasn't allowed to see what was being done. So this was a bone of frustration with him. So of course he had the experience of building tractors and engines, and he initially put 2 engines in a boat, which he used for years. And then he transferred it, because he did have a love for sports cars, into the cars. And of course it became, the Lamborghini that we all know and love today. But because of his fascination with bullfighting, all the models of Lamborghinis are named after types of bulls. Even to this day.
I did not know about the air conditioning part, but I did know that Lamborghini used to produce tractors before producing sports cars. So when you said tractor, I'm like, okay.
You knew right away.
Yeah, guy named it after himself, producing tractor. The only answer I know is Lamborghini.
Very good. I think I gave too many hints. You guys are too good.
That's a great question, and it reminds me of the quote that I don't know if it's urban legend or did he actually say it, where he said, "You buy a Ferrari when you want to be someone. You buy a Lamborghini when you are someone."
Oh, I like that. Whether it's true or not, that's a great quote.
It is a fantastic quote.
Great question, Garry. Aditya, why don't you start us off with this week?
All right. So I was trying to come up with questions which should be American, and I guess nothing as American as the 50 states. So my question is very simple. There are 6 American states which are named in honor of European monarchs. Can you name the 6?
I have 2 in mind. Garry, you go first. I think you're going to get the 2 I know. So
yeah, go for it.
Okay. I would firstly say Georgia.
I was about to say that, Georgia.
I want to say New York, but I know New York was named after York in England. But York also has, regal connections in Britain. Is that one of them, Addy?
So York is not named after the place of York as much as it was named in honor of Duke of York.
Okay.
But the Duke of York was not a monarch yet. So technically, it wasn't named in honor of the monarch, of a European monarch, who, as in at that point, he wasn't one. So I wouldn't count him in the 6. What are the 6 apart from New York? Yes, which is after somebody as well. But
how about the 2 Carolina states, North and South?
Very good. Do you know who they are named after?
No, I'm just guessing it's a Caroline.
Well, that is a pretty solid guess. Yes, it is actually after King Charles I of England and his son King Charles II of England.
Oh.
Which was made Carolina, North Carolina and South Carolina.
Oh, interesting.
Charles II was the one who was beheaded by Cromwell, right?
I think so. I'll have to check up on that, but I believe so. By the way, you mentioned Georgia. Georgia was King George II of Great Britain as well. So we have 3 so far. We have the Carolinas and we have Georgia. Do you know what the other 3 are?
I have one.
Vineet, go on.
I have Virginia after Elizabeth I, the Virgin Queen.
Ah, very interesting. Yes, Elizabeth I, country of the Virgin, Virginia, which should give you the 5th one as well.
Right, would be West Virginia. So the 6th one, I'm trying to picture a map of the United States and all the states. I don't have one here in my office. I need one. After British royalty, just plain and simple?
It's not British royalty. I said European royalty. So this is actually French royalty.
Oh, you said states.
Louisiana.
Ah, very well done. Yes. It is King Louis XIV of France, after whom Louisiana is named. So that will bring us to the 6 states in the United States of America, which are named after monarchs or in honor of monarchs. Can you name the 5 other states which are named after people? So you already mentioned New York, which was after the Duke of York. Can you name the 4 other ones?
Washington is the only state named after a president.
Yeah. Right? Yes, Washington.
Yes.
Florida.
Florida. Florida is actually named after the Spanish word for flowery.
There you go. I knew that. I was just saying, did you know that?
You got me there.
California?
California is actually a disputed etymology, but it might be named after the island of California, which is a fictional island in a Spanish novel.
Okay.
So yes, not named after a person, doesn't fit the bill.
Montana after Joe Montana, the great American quarterback.
That would be something.
No.
They should change the official etymology. Okay, let me. This might be useful to our American audiences, and Garry, you might be able to crack it because of that. The nickname for the state is the Old Line State. Does that help?
The old line.
Old line. Line is in a line, or line is in the animal.
Line like a straight line.
Delaware?
No, that's not Delaware. I'll also tell you who the person was without giving away the name. The person was the wife of King Charles I.
Whoa. I am so reminded of the episode from Friends where Ross is challenged to write all 50 states. And he won't have Thanksgiving dinner until he gets all 50. I'm reminded of that so much.
Okay, one last clue. It's on the East Coast.
East Coast,
Okay,
Massachusetts.
so Delaware, Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island,
Maine?
New York.
No, not Maine. None of the ones that Garry has mentioned so far.
Wow.
We did the North and South Carolina.
Her first name was Henrietta. Her last name, any guesses? It's a small state. It's not one of the bigger states. Well, at least as far as I know, I've never visited it. So I think it's considered a small state.
On the East Coast? I'm sure we just named all of them on the East Coast.
One of the original 13 colonies.
Okay, so I'm
The original
looking at the
13
East Coast.
colonies.
We got Florida, North and South Carolina, Virginia, Delaware, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Maine. What am I missing? Someone's yelling at the podcast now. They know the other one.
Wait. Please don't tell me she was the Duchess of Jersey or something.
No. It is after her name. Her name was Henrietta Maria. It is Maryland.
Ah,
Maryland.
Maryland. Oh, God.
Named after Henrietta Maria.
That
Yes.
irritates me a little bit. You should have gotten Maryland. But that's still just 2, right? You said there are 5.
Yes. I believe you got 6 plus 8, so there are 3 more remaining.
Wow. So 3 more states which have been named after people.
Yeah.
Michigan, Montana, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Kansas, Nebraska, Texas, Arkansas.
I think you mentioned Washington. You mentioned Washington as well. So
Yeah.
I think that's left with 2 more states then. Yes, we are left with the last 2 states.
Quick, name all the CSI and NCIS shows. I believe they have one for each state.
Oregon is a disputed one, so not very sure where it comes from.
Okay. We're not to forget Alaska and Hawaii. They're not named after people.
Okay. This is actually a fun one because it is Thomas West, who was an English nobleman, after whom a bay, a river, a group of Native American people, and finally a US state are all named. His name was Thomas West, but he's the 3rd Baron. And do you know what the last part of Baron something, which is where we get the name of the state from?
No,
All right, give you one hint. The nickname for the state is the First State.
that's Delaware.
Ah, there we go. So Thomas West, 3rd Baron de la Warr. He was an English nobleman. His name or full title would be Baron de la Warr.
Oh, okay. That's what they get Delaware. Okay.
De la means of the. So Baron
Yeah.
of the war?
Of the war, yes. So that's where we get Delaware from.
You're making me look bad, Addy. You're making me look. I gotta take my citizenship test later this year. I need to study up. Clearly.
No, I doubt that if there are people in the US who actually know this. Adi picks up questions that you probably would not have thought of it. Like, I knew Virginia and the others, but Delaware and North Carolina are... I did not think these were named after people.
Exactly. You wouldn't expect it, but it is. It is, yes. So that's basically... we are left with one last one.
Oh.
You want to take a wild guess, guys?
Any clue? Because I don't think we're getting this without a clue.
Idaho.
No, Idaho isn't it. I'll give you the nickname of the state. The Keystone State.
Oh,
Keystone State.
Is that Arizona?
No, it is Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, William Penn. Oh my God.
It is named after William Penn.
William Penn. What? I knew this.
William Penn. Exactly. It is the only state which is named after its founder, technically. So just to quickly revise the 11 that are named after people, we have Georgia, we have Louisiana, Maryland, New York, North and South Carolina, Pennsylvania, Virginia and West Virginia, and of course, Washington.
Washington.
So that brings us to a neat number 11.
It's a great question, Adi. I hate you, but it's a great question.
And Washington's the only state named after a president, if you can believe that.
True. Oh my God, I have to, because you brought this up, I have to give this last piece of trivia. It won't be a question. But there were 3 other presidents that states have been tried to be named after. That is state of Franklin, state of Jefferson, and state of Lincoln.
Oh.
And we only have state of Washington, but these are the other states that was supposed to be named after the president.
So state of Lincoln would have been what? Illinois? They wanted to rename Illinois to state of Lincoln?
There were 2 separate attempts to give the name state of Lincoln to create a state of Lincoln in Texas.
Oh.
And another northwestern state in Idaho or Washington.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. I don't think Texans are going to allow their state to be divided.
No, I doubt it. Yeah, but that is the history of some of the names of the American states. Yeah.
Nice.
Very good.
I hate you, but nice. Okay, Garry, back to you.
Okay, this is a quick question, but it involves a little bit of thinking. Here we go. Pay attention. 2 of these items at 12 inches each in size is smaller than one of the same items at 18 inches in size. What is it?
Okay, I'm guessing from the smirk that Aditya knows the answer.
I'm guessing you're talking about pizza?
Yes, right. I'm talking about pizza. So one 12-inch pizza has 113 square inches, and so 2 of them would be 226, and an 18-inch pizza has 256 square inches. So if you're ever ordering pizza, just get 1 8. Don't be thinking, let's get lots of small ones. Just get that one big one, and you'll save yourself some money. I'm making these questions too easy. You guys are too good.
No, he got that. I was completely stumped. I was thinking of scales and centipedes for some reason. I had no clue.
I got my American hat on today because my first instinct, and by the way, this is another little piece of trivia, you could say, that I was going for a footlong, a Subway footlong, because you said 12 inches. And it is said that apparently 2-section subs usually are around 6 inches if measured randomly, but a footlong usually is 11 inches. The Subway usually cheats off 1 inch off of there. They lie about how many inches there are.
Everybody lies about length.
Nobody's taking out their measuring tape when they buy a foot long. They're like, yeah, that looks about right.
They believe it, yeah.
Okay.
I immediately went to food, so that's why it was an easy crack.
Aditya's on fire today. Okay. So, my turn. This is about a speech. So, the question is about a speech. So, one of the most famous speeches of the 20th century, not many people know that it was written within 5 minutes, with the idea that it would be edited and changed later. However, the first draft of the speech ended up being used without any changes. The writer of the speech, which references a very famous Dylan Thomas poem, wanted to write something which echoed the Feast of St. Crispin speech from Shakespeare's Henry V. Identify the speech. I will give clues because I know this is a bit of a toughie, but see if you can guess it otherwise. So, one of the most famous speeches of the 20th century. It was written within 5 minutes. An original draft was written, but with the idea that they could add it or change it later. However, it was the first draft of the speech which ended up being used without any changes. The speech references a very famous Dylan Thomas poem. And the speech writer, the writer of the speech, wanted to write something that echoed the Feast of St. Crispin speech from Shakespeare's Henry V. Identify this iconic speech.
I have a guess, but I'll let our guest quizmaster take a shot at it.
My first thought is Winston Churchill. It was World War II speech.
Great guess. We will fight on the beaches.
Beaches, yeah.
Great guess, but no.
Okay.
You might kill me when you hear the answer, but I'm going to risk it.
Okay.
I might have also ventured elsewhere in the world, but I know Vineet might have tried to do an American set list this time. So my guess is more American. Vineet, is this a fictional speech?
Yes, it is a fictional speech.
Yeah, it's in a piece of fiction. It isn't an actual speech.
No, it is an actual speech. Somebody does actually, deliver the speech, and it's a very rousing speech.
But it's a fictional character delivering
Yes,
it.
it's a fictional character delivering the speech. I was hoping I could string you guys along for a little while longer. I was expecting Martin Luther King and Obama, but Aditya.
Is it from Braveheart?
Ooh, good guess, but no.
William Wallace?
Not Wallace.
Well, I guess that wouldn't be 20th century. Well, it would, but it wouldn't if it's fictional.
I would say, Gary, you'd be better equipped thinking about American speeches.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Famous speech by Any Given Sunday, Al Pacino. He does the speech. I think it's in the locker room.
No.
Wow, that's a good guess, yeah.
That's a great guess, but no.
So it's going to be something movie-ish, I'm guessing, if it's fictional.
It is.
Right, there's not many speeches on TV that were ever... I mean, maybe there were, but not that I can think of.
So I will give you a clue. I don't know how much of a clue this is, but many years later, the person who delivered the speech in the movie said that his delivery was inspired by Robert F. Kennedy's speech made shortly after finding out that Martin Luther King Jr. had been shot. And I'll give you one more clue. So the inspiration behind the speech was, as I mentioned, the Feast of St. Crispin speech from Henry V. So in the play, this is the line that inspired the speech. This day is called the Feast of St. Crispin. He that outlives this day and comes safe home will stand a tiptoe when this day is named. That's the line that inspired the speech itself.
Addy, do you know?
I think so. I'll give you a hint, Gary. It's from a film, and the film was released in 1996.
Yes. I will also give you the poem that is referenced in it.
That's not going to help.
No, this will help. The poem that was referenced in the speech was Dylan Thomas's classic poem, Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night.
I'm not a big movie buff. I'm like surface level movie, but I'm not someone who just knows all the in-depth stuff. 1996, gosh. Famous movie?
It was a huge blockbuster. Huge. I remember it being as one of the kind of seminal summer blockbusters of the 90s. Like, you remember how the craze around Titanic? Like the year prior to that, this movie had come out and it had...
Similar.
Yeah, roughly that kind of craze.
1996.
It also had a sequel that came out recently.
Yes.
The original starred Will Smith.
I was going to say Independence Day.
Yes.
Is that it? How many hints do you need, Garry? I have not seen that movie. I know he's in it.
Ah,
I've never seen that movie.
okay. That explains it.
Oh, that's why.
That explains it. That explains it. So, in the movie, the fictional president, played by Bill Pullman, gives this very, very rousing speech. I must have heard it at least 10 to 20 times over the past couple of decades, but it still doesn't fail to give me goosebumps. And Michael Waldman, who's the president of the Brennan Center for Justice and director for speech writing for Clinton, he said, I wrote a book that was a collection of great presidential speeches. And if in fact the world had been invaded by aliens, this speech would have made the collection.
Very good.
And the guy who wrote it, Dean Devlin, wrote it in 5 minutes. He planned to change it later, but then during the shot, like they wanted to see how Bill Pullman's going to do it. So when Bill Pullman, he got it in the first shot, he gave such a huge performance that practically everybody just stood there stunned at how he delivered that speech. And it is a classic speech. So the answer is Bill Pullman's speech from Independence Day.
Okay. Very good. They just left it. It was good enough, so they left it.
And as I mentioned, the poem was Dylan Thomas's classic poem, Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night. So the first stanza of that poem goes, Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at the close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. So he kind of paraphrased that into the last line of the speech, which goes, We will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. We're going to live on. We're going to survive. Today, we celebrate our Independence Day.
Maybe I need to watch the movie.
I'm ready to fly into some alien spaceship.
Audience, please go watch Independence Day. It is a classic. The special effects still hold up after, almost 30 years? It's still far superior than the sequel.
Very good.
Okay, Garry, back to you.
Okay. The current name of this product used to be a slang name for another product from over 100 years ago. This product in the early 20th century was typically produced at home, and in the United States, Scottish and Irish immigrants gave this product a nickname, which was a line from an old Irish folk song. This nickname is now a well-known product that's sold all over the world, including India. So I'll say that all again. The current name of this product, which is around now, you can get this product everywhere, okay? Then its name used to be a slang name for another product from about 100 years ago. This product from 100 years ago was typically produced at home, and in the United States, Scottish and Irish immigrants gave this product a nickname which was a line from an old Irish folk song. So what is it? I've left a few keywords out that I can use as hints for you.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm quite stumped right now, actually.
I'm excited by the question, but I am also stumped.
Okay. It's something you consume. You've both probably had this at some point. Maybe you consume this a lot. Maybe you've had it once, but it's something you consume.
Since you said Irish, I want to take a wild guess. Is it some sort of whiskey? Are we talking some sort of alcohol?
You're getting there. Keep digging.
He said it's available in India.
I looked it up to make sure it's for sale in India, and it is 100%.
Okay.
So you can't accuse me of we don't have that here. And I'd imagine it's as popular there as it is elsewhere. Okay, I'll give you a second hint. It's a drink.
Iron brew? No.
No.
No, that's not available in India. I know it's not available in India.
I don't think this is it, but because I think it's named after a person, but is Guinness by any chance
No.
the drink in
No,
Okay.
that's Irish, nah.
Another hint. It's non-alcoholic. So kids could drink it.
Oh.
It's a non-alcoholic drink.
You said it's an Irish folk song, right? That you get this from?
Its name is a line is from an Irish folk song, and that name was given to another drink way back when as a nickname.
I'm listing all the non-alcoholic drinks that are available worldwide.
Yeah.
It's well known.
I'm thinking it has to be some sort of a fizzy carbonated drink.
Gary's giving us his poker face right now.
Oh boy.
Okay, I'll give you another hint. The original drink from 100 plus years ago was illegal. So it was made at home.
So I'm guessing when you said 100 years ago, this is during Prohibition.
Yes, correct.
And it's non-alcoholic. I would have...
Yeah, but hold on. They're two separate things. The one from 100 years ago was made illegally. What was that? It was the nickname for that. That is the current name for the drink now.
I got it. Fantastic question, but I got it. You're talking about moonshine, the nickname for which was Mountain Dew.
Correct. Well done.
Fantastic question, Gary. Absolutely love that one.
The Scottish and Irish immigrants 100 years ago, whenever moonshine was being made and bootlegged and sold illegally and so on, they nicknamed it Mountain Dew because it's a line from an Irish song, The Rare Old Mountain Dew. We say Jew, not Dew, but however. So they nicknamed it Mountain Dew. They nicknamed moonshine. They just, probably to continue their illegal secret activities, they gave it a nickname. And skip forward, Mountain Dew, I think, was made by, I think it's Coca-Cola. It's either Coke or Pepsi. I'm not 100% sure. It's one of the big guys made it. And they took this nickname and used it for their soft drink. So, Addy, you were along the right track when you said alcohol. But then you said fizzy soft drink. And I don't believe Mountain Dew is fizzy. You're right. It is. It is. So
yeah,
there you go.
Oh, that was good.
Nice. Very cool. Okay. So my question is actually very simple. When I think America, I think of Broadway. So very simple one-line question. What's the difference between a Broadway and an off-Broadway show?
Okay, I'm going to bite the bullet and say one's performed on Broadway and the other's performed off Broadway.
So it is a venue-based thing, but it isn't based off of a location.
Oh.
Well, it is a larger location, but not specifically Broadway, the road. It has to be in Manhattan for it to be considered Broadway, but it doesn't have to be on the Broadway street for it to be Broadway. So what is the difference between Broadway and off-Broadway?
Okay, so there's a more technical reason behind its term other than it's not the theater isn't physically on Broadway, because I've been to off-Broadway plays and they're not on Broadway, they're off Broadway. I'm going to say theater size, like seating capacity, smaller theaters.
Oh.
Hey, brilliant. That is the answer. So I was actually surprised to know this because I thought, just like anybody would, that it just means theaters that are on the Broadway street versus those that are not. But as it turns out, if you are in Manhattan and if your seating capacity is more than 500 and some other criteria, you would be considered Broadway theater, even though if you're not on the Broadway street. So being on Broadway street itself doesn't qualify you as Broadway theater.
Oh.
So it has to be more than 500 seats. And for off-Broadway, it is 100 to 499 seats. And anything less than 100 seats is off-Broadway. So those are the three delineations for Broadway, off-Broadway, and off-Broadway.
Oh, so interesting.
Yeah.
So you could have a theater with, let's say, 600 seats. Their address is not on Broadway. Mm-hmm. It's on Fifth Avenue or something. but it's considered a Broadway play. It's like
That's
a
right.
category rather than a physical attribute assigned to it. Oh, so interesting.
Exactly. Yeah.
You said 100 to 499 is off Broadway and up to 100 is off. So a little small. Because I've often heard that term, it's off Broadway, and I just thought someone was like emphasizing the physical location. It's off Broadway. Way off. I knew when you asked it, Addy and Vineet wanted to just go right for he went right down Broadway. He said, this is it. It's either on Broadway or it's off Broadway. I was like, could he be asking that easy of a question? Very good. Very good. Okay.
The answer isn't complicated and you cracked that very quickly. Well done, Garry. But it's an interesting category. And just one last piece of trivia attached to this. There are 41 legitimate Broadway theaters today that are recognized as Broadway. And the reason that you need to be recognized as a Broadway theater is because you're only eligible for the Tony Awards if you open at a Broadway League certified Broadway theater.
And all these theaters have to be in the island of Manhattan, or can they be any of the other boroughs?
They have to be in Manhattan.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
And interestingly, one last thing, that not everything would be qualified as a Broadway theater, even if it has more than 500 seats. A very famous example is Carnegie Hall, which actually has more than 2,500 seats, but doesn't qualify as Broadway theater because it does a lot more of concerts and dance shows than it does plays or musicals. So that's why it doesn't qualify as a Broadway theater.
Very good. I love that. I'm going to have to steal that, I think, for a game. True or false, a Broadway theater does not have to be on Broadway.
Go for it.
I have a few shorter questions. And do you want a short question or a long question? That's not the question, by the way.
Whatever you feel like.
So you guys are familiar with the NATO phonetic alphabet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't ask me to recite the entire alphabet, though, but yes.
No. Okay. All right, so it's a pretty straightforward question. How many letters in the NATO phonetic alphabet are represented by boys' names? Regular boys' names.
Oh, interesting. And regular boys, so it doesn't have to be like somebody's just called Alpha. I don't think Alpha is a boy's name, technically.
Correct. Yes. Thank you for saying that. Yes. If you know somebody whose son's name is Alpha, I'm sorry, that doesn't count. Regular, traditional, everyday boys' names.
So I know there's Charlie. I'm going to say Victor. I know Oscar. And I'm out. There's only three that
I had Oscar and Charlie. When you said Victor, that also clicked, but...
technically, would you count Romeo? Because Romeo is a boy's name. One of the more famous boys' names.
But is it a regular boy's name? That's the question.
It's a famous boy's name.
I have So you have 4. 1 left.
Oh, there are 5. Oh, boy. Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot. G is not Gamma, is it? No, G is not Gamma.
No.
Okay, I don't know G and H. I know I is India. J is Juliet. K is... Oh, man, I'm forgetting K as well.
I'm completely blanking. Like L is Lima.
I know November, Oscar, Papa, Quebec, Romeo, Sierra, Tango. U is?
U is uniform.
Uniform, yeah.
V is Victor. W is Whiskey. X-ray, Yankee, Zulu. So I'm ignoring the ones that I've said because we have already covered those. So that means I missed G, I missed H.
G, H, and M.
It's one of those.
Oh, it's one of these 3 then. G, H, and M.
One of those is the name. The other one is a sport. And the other one is somewhere where you would stay.
H is hotel.
Correct.
G is golf.
So then M. M is what boy's name? M is a boy's name?
You have one guess each. So you got the letter. Regular name. Don't go crazy. Regular English boy's name.
Mike.
Correct.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. So Alpha, Bravo, Charlie. You got them all. That's very good. And of course, the only country represented is I for India, or India for I.
Oh, nice. That was fun. Okay. Again, I'm going with one of my long-winded questions, so bear with me. Packed with nutrients. This, I'm not telling you what it is. I'm going to call it X, right? It makes it easier to refer to it. So X are touted for their ability to ward off colds and urinary tract infections, improve heart and digestive health, and even prevent cancer. X can be used in a variety of recipes, and the sneaky secret to knowing if X are at their best is to check their bounce. The bounce test is attributed to New Jersey farmer John Pegleg Webb, who in 1880 spilled some down the stairs and unwittingly discovered that the better ones bounced to the bottom while the bruised ones remained on the top steps. All these years later, farmers still use the bounce test to determine the best, albeit by a more modern method known as the bounce board separator. So what am I talking about? What is X? So I'm just going to boil all of that down to this. Obviously, I've already mentioned that it can be used in a variety of recipes. So it's something edible, right? So what edible item could you check whether it's the best by bouncing it?
I have a guess, but I'm going to let Garry go for it.
The first thing that jumped to my mind is avocado.
Not an avocado.
Okay. So it's either a fruit or a vegetable.
You're on the right track. There is only one clue I can give for this. So once I give that, it's game over. You'll immediately guess what it is.
I think I got it, and I don't know if that helps Garry. The urinary tract infection part that Vineet mentioned, the urinary problems one.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think, but I'm trying to figure out what fruit or it's got to be fruit. Could you bounce?
So,
but that's good for
even today. If you go to a doctor in the US, also in India, if you have recurrent urinary tract infections, they may ask you to drink the juice of X to help prevent and ward off urinary tract infection.
Cranberries?
Yes, you're right. They are cranberries.
That was a little bit of a stab in the dark, I have to say. I was just trying to think what fruits would be helpful with that, because you hear a lot of stuff that fruits are good for this, that, and the other, you know, and they kind of sometimes fruits have their moment in the sun, like avocado's a superfood and everyone's got to eat avocado and you should be wiping avocados on your face, and then the next week it's, you know, papaya, you got to be eating papaya, everybody's got to have the papaya, and then the next week, you know, so very good. Cranberries, okay. And a great Irish band as well, the Cranberries.
Yes, Zombie. So for our audience, if you ever want to know if a cranberry is good, if it's in a good condition, just drop it on the floor. If it bounces, it's good to go. If it doesn't bounce, probably don't use it in a recipe.
The bounce factor. The bounce test.
Yeah, the bounce factor. So, Garry, please go ahead.
Okay. What has its speed measured in Mickeys?
We have done this question actually before. I asked Vineet this question. Vineet, go for it.
Yeah, so if I remember, it's a mouse speed or the speed of a computer mouse.
Correct. The ball, obviously, which is how fast that moves, is measured in Mickey's mouse. Probably not, 100% factually. It's probably just someone said, hey, that moves at 10 Mickeys a minute. Okay. Next question. This is to do with this is probably going to be very easy for you, but I stumbled across this and I thought it'd be fun to ask, and maybe you guys can talk a little bit more about it. And it's probably super easy, but I'll ask. In the mid-2010s, in an effort to address a small health crisis in India, what was integrated into Google Maps to help people find?
Public toilets.
Public toilets. Is that true?
I've heard the same piece of trivia. I don't remember it being the case back in 2010. As in, like, I don't recall that happening, but I'm sure it must have happened at some point. Yeah.
And I've never had to Google for one, so I really don't know.
Okay, next question. You might get the answer to this based on the first part of the question, but I will ask it anyway. It has a technical name, Octothorpe, but it is commonly known by another name, and it's used everywhere nowadays. What is it? Octothorpe.
Octothorpe.
Addy knows.
Octo means 8. Okay, I'm not getting this. Adi, go for it.
Would this be hashtag?
Hashtag is correct.
Oh, yes. Yes.
It really doesn't have one definitive name. So obviously pound, the pound sign, which was, I grew up known as the pound sign.
Yeah.
And it's also in music, it's sharp, but I think it's at a little bit more of an angle in music. And one of the telephone technical companies, I think in the 60s, Bell Atlantic, which no longer exists in the US, on the alphanumeric phones, they added this button. If you remember the old, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 0 was under 8, and then they had the hashtag, and then on the other side, I think it was star. But they wanted to come up with a name for
the asterisk,
for the other one, and Octo, of course, because it has 8 lines or 8 whatevers. And then Thorpe was one of the guys. It was a kind of a jokey name that they made up at the time, which stuck around, and it was used for. But it's not. Of course, it's hashtag is the number one way people use it nowadays, at least. But pound, I knew it as pound growing up. So there you go.
Yeah, same here. When I grew up in the Middle East, it always used to be pound. So when you had to, I think, redial the number, it used to be pound 69 or something. We grew up with pound, and it's after Twitter, I think, that it came to hashtag.
Hashtag, yes, it became a thing. Okay, I have 2 questions left. Are you guys ready?
Go for it.
Yep.
Okay, it's an inventions question. I'm going to give you 4 inventions, and you have to tell me the chronological order they were invented. Okay?
Ooh.
Nice.
Oh. Okay.
You ready?
Okay.
So I'm going to give you them out of order, obviously. So escalator, paperclip, typewriter, teddy bear. Escalator, paperclip, typewriter, teddy bear. So of those 4, which came first? Escalator, paperclip, typewriter, teddy bear.
Teddy bear is named after Theodore Roosevelt. So that's the beginning of the 20th century.
And the paperclip was patented in the late 1800s, early 1900s. So I'm guessing paperclip, then teddy bear.
Okay.
I'm guessing escalator is the oldest. So then that leaves typewriter. So then escalator, typewriter, paperclip, and teddy bear.
So say that again, Vineet. You're saying
escalator, typewriter, paperclip, teddy bear. That's my guess.
no. You're almost correct.
Oh.
Okay.
Addy, care to have a go?
It's a tough one. I am going to say escalator is the first one. I'm going to, just because it seems like an interesting choice, I'm going to put paperclip as the most recent one. So I'm going to go escalator, we have typewriter, and we have teddy bear, and then we have the paperclip.
No, Addy, I'm afraid not. So I'll give you the first one.
Okay.
And then you have to give me the next thing. So typewriters first, 1867.
Oh.
So assemble the other 3.
Okay.
So typewriter first, you got that out of the way. What's second? I'll give you the year. The second one is 1892.
Then I'd have to say
Paperclip.
typewriter. Oh, I'm going to say typewriter.
No, he already said typewriters first.
Oh,
He
sorry.
said typewriters
My
first.
bad. Escalator.
So Addy's saying escalator, 1892. That is correct. The next one, 1899.
That's the paperclip. 1899 is the paperclip.
Paperclip, which would leave teddy bear, 1902.
Nice.
I got the first two mixed up.
Yeah, pretty great guess there, Vineet.
The escalator was around for 10 years before the teddy bear, right? You think just a teddy bear was around for years. Very good. You guys are good. Okay, I've one question left, and it is a TV show question. Okay? Have you both seen the TV show Breaking Bad?
Yeah.
I have seen it, but I watched it during its original run, so it's been more than a decade.
Now, Addy, were you like me? You've watched it a bunch of times, or you just watched it once and then that's it? Because it's one of those shows like, you know, Game of Thrones or something where people really got into it, and I was one of those.
I watched it once, and then I watched it one more time before El Camino came out. And then I watched it one more time while I was watching Better Call Saul. So I've seen Breaking Bad. I mean, the second and third times were quick watches. I just kind of watched my favorite episodes. Yeah.
Okay, so this Addy might have a good stab at this, but Vineet, you might too. Okay, so think of all the main characters in it. The family main characters who were in all 5 seasons, not the side characters who came in and out, or maybe showed up in the second or third or fourth season. I'm talking the main core of characters for, like, if you went to a Comic-Con and the Breaking Bad characters, it would be this core group of characters. You follow me?
Yeah.
Okay. Which two of those main characters never appeared in a single scene together in all 5 seasons?
Oh.
Oh.
I think I know this. Is it Walter White Jr. and Jesse?
Addy's like a trivia savant. Holy smokes. Yes. Very, very good. Yeah. In all the seasons, all the characters at some point, like some were not in very many scenes together, like Skylar, Walter's wife, and Jesse weren't in very many scenes, or Maria and Jesse. But Walter Jr. and Jesse never appeared in one scene together at all in the entire 5 seasons, despite them both, like, their stories kind of, you know, they were intertwined directly and indirectly, but they never appeared in a scene together.
Yeah.
True.
Did you know that, Vineet?
I was racking my brain to think about. I was thinking of Walter White Jr. and I was thinking, okay, who did he not have a scene with? And then by the time I started thinking from the top, Adi had already gotten it. So then I was like, yeah. When you do a podcast with this fellow, you come to realize very quickly that, you know, you have to write. Like, sometimes people tell me your questions are like really tough. And I'm like, I have to. Otherwise, if I just ask regular questions, the episode be over in like 5 minutes.
Oh, no.
I have to purposely make my questions. I have to put in obscure clues so that it takes this man a little more time before he kind of demolishes it. So
very good. That's excellent.
Fantastic set of questions, Garry. Let's wind up today's episode. So before we do that, I have to answer the audience question, which I had asked. So the audience question was, since 1851, nearly 300 hurricanes have made their way to US soil. Of these, 120 have hit Florida's coast. Southeast Florida is where Hurricane Andrew hit in 1992, which was a Category 5 hurricane, which is the most powerful type of hurricane. After Hurricane Andrew in 1992, the state of Florida mandated new building codes to reduce the impact of hurricanes. So something special was seen in South Florida houses due to only this code. This is also to offer an extra layer of protection. It allows large groups of people to exit quickly during an emergency. When installing, it's also important to add safety mechanisms. So, what is this special feature in Florida houses that's being talked about? Garry, any ideas?
I'm going to guess that it's an easy to remove roof.
Oh, no.
No? Okay.
Clue I would ask both of you to focus on is that the added safety feature, it allows large groups of people to exit quickly during an emergency.
Is it doors in public buildings must push out?
Yes, doors opening outwards.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it basically says that houses in Florida, doors have to open outwards. It allows, again, people to exit quickly, because if it's a door that's pulling inwards, it, especially with the lower pressure outside, it'll just keep closing. So you actually need a door which opens outwards. It helps a lot of people exit. However, one additional thing that they have to do is that when you're installing it, the hinge pins should be protected to prevent intruders from popping the hinges and entering. So that's an additional thing that you have to do, because the hinge is on the outside.
Right.
This must be only in certain counties in South Florida, because I was in Jacksonville, Florida last September, and I was in a friend's house, and Jacksonville's further up the Atlantic coast. And I was in his house, and it would be odd if you went to someone's house and the door opened out. You know what I mean? It's just so common for a door to open in as you walk into someone's house. And I remember his door opening in. So it must be, and again, that's Jacksonville, which is further up north. It must be somewhere.
Certain counties, yeah, Southeast Florida. So
interesting. So when you go to, I'm sure when you go to someone's house, the temptation is to push the door in. You're going to pull it. Very good. I remember seeing something, I don't think this is mandated, but it was a device where at the the front of the house in the driveway and somewhere in the back of the house, literally cemented into the ground was like a metal hook. And what these folks do when a hurricane is coming, they attach basically like a rope that would tow a car, like a thick, sturdy, with a hook on the end. They would hook that on to the front and then run the rope, or the whatever you would call it, over the house to hold the roof in place. Because the roofs they come blown off. But if this was hooked in, the way, if you see a car on the back of a tow truck and they strap and they tighten the rope so it's really secured onto they secure the roofs on this way, and that way it has a less of a chance of the roof blowing away.
Literally strapping down a roof.
He's strapping down the roof so it just doesn't blow.
Hurricanes are terrifying.
Oh yeah, and when you asked that question, Vineeth, I thought, if people are trapped in the house and all the doors are blocked and whatever, the roof could come off quickly. Because I was thinking that the roofs need to, because it would be the biggest opening of a house would be the roof. But clearly I was close but wrong.
Yeah.
You got the question though. That was pretty cool. I would not have gotten that.
Yeah.
Great answer.
Yeah, just push your way out.
Yeah. Great crack. So let's wind up. But before we do that, we have a tradition to follow of the pop culture recommendations for this week. Garry, why don't you go first? Any particular thing that you want to recommend?
My recommendation on Netflix here in the United States, I'm sure you guys can probably get it too. There's a documentary called The Greatest Night in Pop. And it is about the recording of the song We Are the World. Do you remember that? USA for Africa. And they had Bruce Springsteen and I think Whitney Houston.
Live Aid.
It was the American version of Live Aid. So they filmed that recording, which happened in one night. Michael Jackson and Quincy Jones and Bob Dylan and Stevie Wonder and all these great artists. And they filmed it, and it took like all the way through the night. And it was really fascinating because it was they didn't really have the song fully together. They had the melody and they had some of the chorus, but then it was getting everybody to sing their lines and sing it correctly, and all the other noise that was going on in the studio. And it was a really, they interviewed all the artists now who are still alive, because obviously a lot of them have passed away, like Michael Jackson and so on. And it was really fascinating to watch the process. But the best part of it, there's a scene where Bob Dylan, and if you listen to the song, you know, Bob Dylan is not a very melodic singer. And he had trouble kind of getting the melody correct. And they show a scene where Stevie Wonder sat down because Bob Dylan needed help, and he sang Bob Dylan's line to Bob Dylan in Bob Dylan's voice. We are the world, we are. And that kind of clicked for Dylan.
Wow.
And Dylan went back then and sang his lines, because you could tell he was having a lot of trouble. So it's a really fascinating documentary. I think it's like an hour long or an hour and a half. But if you have it on Netflix, it's called The Greatest Night in Pop. Highly recommend it.
Nice. Awesome. Adi, your recommendations this week?
Okay, so because I was again thinking the United States of America, I had to think war and war films. So I'm going to recommend some of my favorite war films, and I won't go with the more popular ones that you will see on most lists. So I'm not going to go with like Apocalypse Now and things like that, which you probably are going to hear of anyway. I would say Full Metal Jacket for a phenomenal first half. That's one of the best first halves to a film, I would say, that not just a war film, but definitely a war film. Some phenomenal stuff there. Fury. Brad Pitt does a very good job there.
Yes. Shia LaBeouf
also, even though I've heard he was very problematic on the set. But
but that shows in his character. His character is also quite problematic.
True. I also have to recommend Letters from Iwo Jima and Flags of Our Fathers, a film to be watched in combination, because Clint Eastwood's take on the Battle of Iwo Jima, but from both the Japanese side and the American side, which is, I think, a pretty interesting take. I wish more war films did that. I would love to see that happen.
What's that one called, Adi?
That is Letters from Iwo Jima and Flags of Our Fathers. So the very iconic image that has been recreated in so many different countries and cultural contexts of the people raising a flag, a bunch of soldiers raising the flag, that is from Iwo Jima. Mm-hmm. And you'll see in a lot of independence movement struggles that happen across the world, they recreate that, or there'll be images which are pretty symbolic or reminiscent of that iconic image. So Letters from Iwo Jima and the Flags of Our Fathers, I would say very much a top recommendation. I would say The Hurt Locker. Oh, what a beautiful, beautiful film. The Hurt Locker, a must watch. Black Hawk Down. Now, I haven't seen Black Hawk Down in a very long time.
It's a great movie.
I remember feeling when I watched it back when it came out, I really liked it. Mm-hmm. So if it still holds up, I would say that is definitely worth a watch. And my last recommendation for this would be something that people probably don't think of as a war film, but it is based or situated in time and a space which was occupied by war, which is Pan's Labyrinth. So I would say Pan's Labyrinth is also in that list.
Civil War,
me.
Spanish Civil War, I'm guessing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a girl dealing with it. A little girl dealing with it. So yeah, these are my non-mainstream recommendations for war films worth checking out.
I'm basically hijacking Adi's recommendation by adding a few of those to mine, because I believe that no list is complete without Apocalypse Now. I don't care how popular it is. Ride of the Valkyries and a very terrifying Marlon Brando, Apocalypse Now. I think you missed Platoon. Oliver Stone's Platoon.
Platoon is great.
Mm-hmm. And I would also like to recommend a more recent edition, Hacksaw Ridge.
Very good performance by Andrew Garfield, yes.
Yeah, Hacksaw Ridge. And what I really like about that movie is apparently they did not show enough of what Desmond Doss did. Desmond Doss did a lot more, but if they showed it on film, nobody would have believed it.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Okay.
And Mel Gibson, I mean, like, no matter what you think of him as a person or his personal beliefs, he makes some cracker movies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, true. Good film director.
Superb movies. He makes some absolutely fantastic movies.
If you're going to do this, then I have to say Saving Private Ryan. I was trying to not say Saving Private Ryan just because it is an obvious choice on the list, but Saving Private Ryan. Come on.
I would, in that case, if you're going to do movies as well, I would also recommend a short mini series, which I've mentioned in the podcast before as well, but I believe is the definitive description or depiction of the European theatre of World War II, which is Band of Brothers.
Yeah.
Band of Brothers.
The spiritual sequels to those, the Pacific and Masters of the Air, neither had that heart, that soul that Band of Brothers brought when talking about Easy Company. So that is just the definitive World War II series for my generation anyway. So that's that.
Perfect.
Moving on to my recommendation for this week is something that happened quite serendipitously. I would like to call this synchronicity, because last week while we were recording with Garry, I had recommended a book by Michelle McNamara, I'll Be Gone in the Dark. So quite coincidentally, and this was completely coincidental, I picked up a couple of novels based off recommendations from YouTube. And I started reading one, and halfway through the book, I'm like, this is uncannily familiar. Like, the plot is uncannily familiar. And I went online to search about it, and it turns out that the author was inspired to write the novel by Michelle McNamara's book. So the book is called The Nothing Man. It's written by, again, synchronicity here, by an Irish author, Catherine Ryan Howard. And Garry was kind enough to help me understand that the actual pronunciation is Angarda Síochána.
Síochána, yeah, very good, yeah.
Thank you. So it's a serial killer story based in Ireland. I read a second novel of hers. I actually devoured it in the same week. It's called 56 Days. And she produces this beautiful crime story. I'm not going to say exactly what it's about, but it's set during the lockdown. And she has parallel story threads going in and out in a non-linear fashion. And she wraps it up beautifully. So 56 Days and The Nothing Man by Catherine Ryan Howard. Those are my recommendations for this week. Please go try a copy. Fantastically written books, and they have a good amount of suspense. And as I said, synchronicity. It just happened. So that's all the time we have for today's episode. Thank you for listening in. I would like to thank Garry for taking time out of his busy schedule to come not for just one, but for 2 episodes with us. Garry, thank you so much. And please tell us a little bit about your company, where people can find you, how you do your shows, anything.
Yes, Let's Go Trivia is my company. So letsgotrivia.com, all social medias at Let's Go Trivia. And we do a lot of private events for corporations, for individuals, fundraisers, that kind of stuff, all over the United States. You know, if you want us to come and want me to come and host it for you, I certainly will. We can customize questions. Our game is run digitally through a website called Crowdpur, which is a fantastic website, Crowdpur. So I highly recommend that. So we run our game through that. Our game is very energetic and I don't want to say fast moving, but the questions are, we do 50 questions divided up into 5 rounds of 10. It lasts about an hour and a half. So it's great fun. It's very engaging. And like I said, it moves quickly, and our hosts are fantastic that we send to all the restaurants to do it weekly. So really enjoy doing it. And I appreciate you guys having me on. It's been wonderful to meet you, albeit over the interwebs, and talk a little trivia and have my brain picked. And really what these 2 episodes have proven to me is that I am just really, really, really not that good at trivia.
That is absolutely not true.
So I want to thank you again, guys. And if you ever come to the United States, please let's meet up. Come to one of our trivia nights.
Absolutely, we will.
Absolutely, that will be on our list. And Garry, I'm putting you on the spot here, but a few months down the line, can we expect you back on our show?
100%.
A few months down the line?
Most definitely. Just get in touch. Let me know. Let's do it.
You are on record.
Okay.
You're on record. You cannot back out now. Set the spider to the fly. Okay, guys. So we hope you enjoyed the show and learned something new. If you liked what you heard, please consider subscribing to our podcast. Leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform, wherever you're listening to us right now. It helps us reach a wider audience and allows more people to discover and enjoy this show. So take 2 seconds after my spiel to hit 5-star review and subscribe to the podcast. We'd also love to hear from you. Feedback, suggestions, even trivia. If there's a question you want asked on the show, just send us a mail at areyouquizzingme@gmail.com with the name of the quizmaster in the subject line. You can also join our Reddit community at r/areyouquizzingme. You can reach us out on Instagram at areyouquizzingme. We appreciate your support and look forward to sharing more episodes with you in the future. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a great day.
See you guys next week.